Hey guys, this is Javier with the Real Javier Novo, and today I have a very special guest. It's Chrissy, who runs this very interesting channel about manifestation and about all things metaphysical called the Magical Frequency. And I've played a lot of her videos in my videos, and we've talked from time to time. I just wanted to have her on because one of her recent videos, I think it was 1 or 2 months ago, that talked about gurus and the authenticity of people talking about these matters was very interesting to me, and I just wanted to have her on. So, Chrissy, thanks for being on the Real Javier Novoa today, and me on your channel also.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to talk to you today and excited to cover that topic and anything else. And technically, my channel, it used to be called the Magical Frequency, which I did love, but I wanted to focus it more on simulation. So technically, I do call it the simulation frequency now.
Simulation frequency, that's
Yes,
right.
yes. But I was, there's been probably over 50 videos maybe that were under that last name, but my newer chat or my newer name is under this just because I'm really focused and more on talking about things of this nature. I'm not stuck on it. If somebody comes to me and is able to prove something different, I'm able to update my beliefs. But up until now, this is what I do believe about the environment, if you will, that we're living in. So.
For sure, and you're the real deal because not only have you run, I think you've had several channels on different topics as well as this, but also you are a real estate investor and you work a pretty high-powered position in security, I believe, correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely
Computer
correct.
security.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Through the years have built my way up through the ranks in corporate, through the information security sector, if you will. I'm very resiliency specific within the business, like so business continuity, everything, workplace safety, business continuity, incidents, cybersecurity, just all things of this kind of nature under infosec. So yeah, I've gone through the ranks there, if you will, and yes, I've dabbled in real estate, and that's a lot of what my I guess money outside of what I've earned through my specific career I've earned through real estate. So yes, absolutely.
And I know I realize you've also carried a lot of those skills over to the videos that you make. You make some really good videos.
Oh,
You're a
thank
lot
you.
more well versed in the editing and so on than I am.
Oh, well, I mean, anybody could do it. It's just, like we talk about focusing and just really getting involved in the background and the editing process and being passionate about it. And yes, it has 100% leaked over because for years and years and years before I was ever doing anything on YouTube with things of this nature, I was doing PowerPoints, putting together presentations. It was all for VP, SVP, EVP level folks out here. So I was used to having to present to people in such a manner. So I like to do that. So it definitely, translated over to my YouTube channels for sure.
For sure. And you're mostly self-taught, correct? In the things
Yeah.
that you've done?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've never taken any like formal courses for it. Yeah, I've just
That is awesome.
learned through the sport force brute, if you will, like just going in, doing it, getting my hands dirty. Also using visualization techniques and stuff like this, but just combining everything that I know. And I come across issues just like anybody else does, but I swear with like when you use these techniques, like you'll have an issue and then you'll just think about something and then suddenly it'll resolve and then it'll work. So, I just work through issues like that. So I've always been pretty lucky, and my editing. The only thing I probably have had recently is like saving. I'm sure you come across that, like your load, the amount of things that you can save on hard drives and things of
Oh
this
yeah,
nature.
space.
Yeah.
Space is
Uh-huh.
just a huge issue. Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
of
So
course.
yeah.
But you've
Mm-hmm.
applied all this stuff, and one of the most where you and I really intersect is the sort of the lack of genuineness in this space. And I've talked about it through the point of view of ethics, that you do have to include some ethics. A lot of manifestation people would say, well, there's no ethics, and you just do what you want. There are several problems with that, but the thing that interests me and that you hit on in your last video, has manifestation become sort of just like a trend? Because anytime these things become popular, one of my rules of thumb is when, 50, 60% of people are doing it, it's lost a lot of its meaning. And I think it's because they've whittled it down and they've sort of watered it down. What is the mistake that people are making now, especially like the children on TikTok and other people who talk about manifestation just in a very superficial way? What do you think they're missing?
Well, I guess a lot of people would immediately say something like spiritual bypassing, right? Because
Exactly.
you're not going deep. You're just trying to do this technique and like it always seems like a lot of people in this community are always manifesting like cars or and I get it because I was too at that point where you see these things happen for you and then you get sucked into it and then you just start listening to a lot of these catchphrasey things, which again, it's easy to fall into because that's what the mind likes. It likes those easy catchphrases things. Like, for example, Neville, go to the end. All these things that you can say to the subconscious to hear it, especially rhyming. We like rhyming. That makes you want to believe whatever it is a little bit more because you're actually predicting the thing that they're going to say, and it gives you like a little bit of a dopamine hit. So every time we hear these like catchphrasy things, it makes us almost like become an addiction to it. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily like a bad thing per se, because I know it can keep you in this excitement mode. But is it keeping you in this excitement mode? And is it maybe like potentially blocking you from what you really want? Sorry, because you're so engrossed in like following these trends and you're not really getting to the source of what manifestation is, or I don't even like to call it manifestation. It feels so like for some reason like cringy now. And
Exactly.
yeah, and like even you, Javier, I connected with you because you felt genuine. You felt like somebody that was actually truth telling and that was telling your side and perspective of what's going on out here and how you're doing the things that you're doing. But a lot of these people have these grandiose things that they're doing. And at this point, you can kind of prove that it's fake. There's people that will rent cars that are really, really expensive, like sports cars, and they will be a part of like sports car clubs, and they will flex as if those cars all belong to them, and they really don't. And sometimes when you think about it, a lot of like super wealthy people often don't do things of this nature. So sometimes it feels like so inauthentic once you start to put a microscope on it and then they pretend they have these houses, and it's so easy to rent places. And I've even seen people, it's just all about understanding the illusion of it all. I've seen coaches go to these houses and they will rent it for like 2 weeks like an Airbnb, and they will film hundreds of videos. So like say this would be my like Airbnb rental, I would like
Hmm.
film myself in all these different clothes and all these different styles of myself and doing all these different things over a 2 week period. And like I've seen people do different songs and backdrops and recycle the content for months and months and months, and has the viewer thinking that they are really rich or that they're procuring all these things. And at the end of the day, I feel bad saying this and I struggle with it myself. It's the manifestation coaches that the only thing that they've ever done in the history of like their life to procure money and to actually come into large sums of money was teaching concepts like this at like a very base level kind of ethical way. I don't know. I get confused with
And
that
making
sometimes.
money by teaching people how to make money.
Right.
And I
Right.
know, like Trevor Blake, whom I interviewed, talks about that a lot. Whereas, he is authentically. But as a devil's advocate here, what's wrong with that, Chrissy? I mean, that they are living in the end. If in fact, many teachers encourage this. If you want a car, go test drive a car. So they're
Yeah.
renting a car. They're just living in the end.
Right. I think that if you're telling the truth about it, there you could get away with it, so to speak. And I do think that there is some validity to it too, because people do the whole fake it until you make it thing, right? But there's the
Exactly.
other thing where there's there's the pendulum, right? So where I think that you can do things like this, there's also deceiving your audience and making them think that you potentially own these things. And if your audience is okay with you acquiring the money through modalities of manifestation, through selling manifestation courses, and that's all you've ever done, then so be it. Like that's on the for me, I not that I don't trust the people or that I can't listen to their content. It's just really hard for me to see any other thing outside of just selling, and especially sometimes they're selling other people's ideology. It's not something that they've created this platform that they're standing like 2 feet down on. It's their system and this and this. A lot of them are selling like Neville courses or just repetitive like quantum jumping courses over and over again, or just stealing or regurgitating like other people's content. And it's just like it that part is what feels super inauthentic. Like I get selling like hypnoses or certain things, but I just feel like there's a level of it where it gets out of control. I don't know if you've seen it. Even some people, they have like thousands of people in a school community, and they're
Oh yeah.
charging like 60, 100, and they could be making like 50, 60, $70,000 a month just like doing things online that are really, in my opinion, for free. They're not teaching you anything that's groundbreaking. That's another thing where I'm not trying to be rude. That's where the authenticity part comes in. But I
Well,
guess if
sure.
certain people need to be in these programs for long periods of time to think that, well, I think it's to what? Convince themselves that they have the power to do these things or whatever, or what have
Well,
you.
for sure. And so in your view, what's the pitfall here? Because, well, a lot of people, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I think about these things a lot too. But if someone is paying money for a course to get some ideas that are already out there, perhaps that was just their way to get that idea.
Yeah. No, it absolutely
Mhm.
is. There's a gentleman on my channel. He's plays devil's advocate with me too as well.
Oh,
because I talk about scamming and stuff, and he'll say
well, sure.
if you can listen to the scammer and actually walk away with pieces of information. I think the pitfall is when you're dumping too much information or too much money into that person's pocket. Like, listen, I'm all about giving money to people. I will give money to people. I've given gifts to people on
Oh, for
YouTube.
sure.
I've given money to people on YouTube. If I like the person, I will do it. But I have never personally invested so much money into somebody where I have heard people say things like they had to do this in this month, like pay rent, and they were trying to conjure up the money, if you will, to pay this coach $5,000 or something like
That's
this.
insane.
Yeah,
Yes,
and that happens. You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? And they
Oh,
don't
yes.
pay this or that, and they pay the coach, and then they're out money. And then it's kind of like for them, the lessons learned is like don't be duped. But that's, you know what I mean? That
Mhm.
wasn't what the initial investment was to have been the lesson learned from. You were supposed to learn how to quote unquote manifest from these people, and realistically, you might just give them a bunch of money and at the end of the day realize that what you're seeing is nothing more than probably, if you deep dive on YouTube and you critically think yourself, you can find it. But I mean,
Precisely.
yeah, and then of course, I think the other pitfall is making these people like a god body status where you
Exactly.
start to worship them, you don't question what they're saying, and they're kind of like abusing their community. They could be lying to them. They could be doing things behind the scenes that they're not telling the truth about, and
Oh, yes.
they're portraying to be this persona, if you will, and it can feel like a money grab. So
For
it's
sure.
again, if you have the money to invest into
Hmm.
it and you feel like it's really helping you to that status, like then so be it. But I think that people need to use discernment and proceed with caution with some of these folks, because a lot of times too, if you get on Reddit, there's a lot of unfortunate stories where people are really upset that they invested into these certain coaching programs and they didn't get what they thought that they were going to get, because a lot of it is just like regurgitated stuff or stuff that they're just taking off of other creators and then
Well,
like
it's almost like the
reinforce.
Zen, like it's almost like the Zen paradox, where you listen to Alan Watts, I'm sure, read Alan
Mhm.
Watts. He talks about the fact that all of the Zen teachers, they're there to basically teach you that you don't need them. And they're there to basically, the Zen master, you give him a koan and he says, "Oh, you have enlightenment," or he'll tell you you don't have it, but you have to realize that you actually have it. We all actually have it. And I think we would serve people better by just teaching them who they are, as
Right.
opposed to teaching them that you need someone.
Right. And, the whole, like the Neville community, for example, they'll claim that Neville really didn't charge people for a lot
He
of his
didn't.
teaching. And,
Exactly.
and then, but somebody did, I think a few videos ago of mine told me that he did start to charge towards the end and his membership died off because of it, apparently.
Probably. But
But, yeah.
he has a chapter in his book. You've read I believe it's the first book in his series. Your faith is your fortune, and he
Yeah.
has a chapter about masters. There
Yes.
are no enlightened masters. You are the
Right.
master. I
Right.
think it would just for the beginners, maybe they need it. Like Joel Goldsmith said, the beginning students, they begin to manifest, but then after a while, that power wears off because I think there's a deeper what is manifesting to you? What is the deeper truth that we have to learn about manifesting?
Well, if you hear the way I speak on things in my videos, manifesting for me, it's the bringing the unseen to the scene. Because if you think about it, in my the and be I'm not sure if it's because I did crazy things when I was younger and I had another experience outside
Sure.
of what normally people do. I do personally believe that we are only seeing a fraction of reality. So,
That's
and
science.
and
Exactly.
and if we live in an infinite world, an infinite amount of worlds, and there's an infinite amount of parallel realities, you're only realistically shifting into that reality, or what would be better said, maybe re-experiencing, reimagining, re-remembering that experience again, because more than likely you've already had it, or God or whatever consciousness, so you're just shifting back into that and seeing what you did not see before. And that's all it really truly means to me, because, like you said, it's all one. I think it's all one consciousness that's being streamed into the avatar, if you will, into our suits. But we all go back to the same consciousness regardless. And I believe that it continues to recycle and recycle over and over again. So we're just re-recycling or re-trying to focus on what we once previously saw, trying to refocus to see it again. That's really what it is to me. And when we use all of these techniques, we're just convincing ourselves, which would be our subconscious, to then lead us to that experience again, through which way. But I do believe, as us walking humans, we have to take action upon, what we're hearing or, thinking about in a very focused way on what we do want to see, which would be quote unquote manifestation. People think it's like a magic thing, like I'm just gonna, say three affirmations and then it's a genie and then poof, the manifestation comes out. And maybe for some people it might work like that from time to time, but realistically, I think the journey is the experience of life to figure out the game, if you will. And that's why I call it,
We
like,
want to take action.
simulation. Yeah.
For sure. We want to take action, but
Yeah.
I've made a lot of videos about it. What is your view of this? Because it's there. I've had stories about myself literally sitting on a couch and having something come to me. And then other times, of course, I'll take action. When we say you have to take action, you certainly don't mean you have to do things that you just don't feel like doing. What you mean, I think, is that you take inspired action. It almost feels like it's not action. Is that what you mean, or what's your whole theory of that? Theory of action?
Yeah, I would say it could be a little bit of both, but a lot of
Hmm.
inspired action, like for me recently, because it's just the way I've been thinking about things. I've been thinking like I get things for free all the time, money out of free air, like just fun things like that I like
Oh
to
yeah.
experiment with myself all the time, conversations like this in my head. And like for example, today I what would have been took action. I went to the pet store and recently I have three cats and my three cats destroyed their cat tree. And for a little while I've yeah, they've just destroyed it. And for a little
Sorry.
while I've kind of wanted a new one because it sits in the front of my house. And it was just a thought that I had at one point, and I went to the pet store today and I had to pick up a few things for my pets, and the guy at the front asked me, "Did I want a cat tree for free?" And I'm like, yeah, sure." So that's how quickly something like that can work. So that
Happens quick.
yeah, that was quick. So he picked it up and put it into my trunk, and I didn't have to pay a dime for it. I think it's like $100 cat tree. So and he had like a reason why they'd rather not keep them because I don't know, it was something where if they send it to the store can't really do anything with it because it was shipped from the retailer, and then people on the floor will not buy things like that because it's been shipped and they can't see the product and they don't know what they're buying, and people like never buy them. So he just gets rid of them because he thinks they're like dust collectors. Do you see how that works? So, like it just
Oh
like
yes.
yeah, it's just
It
like
happens. But people, and you even said, I think in one of your videos that a lot of people, they talk about manifesting amazing things. If you look at it, it's just commonplace things like, yeah, I
right.
had someone give me $30 or something like that. Let's to try to illustrate the difference between that and say, how was your foray into real estate? Did that also happen serendipitously or did it feel like action? Just out of curiosity to give a more illustrative example of this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I was selling my home, I was deeply into these concepts, and I had a lot of hiccups when I was selling my home. And that house, for example, when you do real estate, when you sell properties, there's often, especially if you have tenants in them, there's often things that you need to clean up when they're out of the home. And depending on if the tenant didn't wreck your house, you
Oh
have
yeah.
to invest a ton of money. So I invested also money into cleaning the property up, to updating it. And during that time, like these little things would happen. And I would try to, quote unquote, maintain my state. But that was one of them things where I often describe it as even if you can't maintain like a positive state, because at the time I remember listening to a lot of Esther Hicks because
Oh yeah.
she's always like, really excited, and it was like that excitement that kept me through a lot of the hiccups, if you will, that was happening that like normally in the 3D you would be like, ah, because one day a construction worker, but with this stuff being said too, like that I was able to with these concepts get construction workers that were able to do the job for the price that I wanted, and they did everything, and like no matter what happened, they always agreed to do whatever for whatever price that I wanted. So like that was one of those situations where it was like mind over, the situation and thinking about it and just going in cool, calm, collected, like this is what I want. And listen, and there was times where it didn't happen too, but I would call around a couple times and I would say like, no, I'm going to get this. Like somebody's going to give it to me for this price. Like, and that's just what it is. And then I would call and somebody would give it to me for that price. So I use these concepts, but at the same time, like I was saying, the one gentleman ran water in my upstairs bathroom and it came
Oh
like
wow.
flooding down, yeah, through my ceiling and broke the ceiling. And
Just to be a jerk?
no, it was an accident,
Oh.
but
Oh
somebody
okay.
actually, it was an accident, but there was
Hmm.
tape and like a sign over it that said do not
Wow.
use. And there was tape
Oh.
over it. So, unfortunately,
Hmm.
they ended up having to fix that. But
Sure.
it's having to like see, like I came in and saw the busted ceiling, the leaking, having to like emotionally process that, because that's the dirty side of manifestation, quote unquote, that people don't really like to expose. They're just like, it's done. I was there and it was done. Oh, was it done when my ceiling fell through the floor and there was like crap all over the place?
Well,
And
Abraham Hicks talks about that. She's like, and even Alan Watts, he said it's great to live in the house in your imagination, but once you get it, you have to mow the damn lawn. It's like that. I think that's the lesson. And what I was asking about earlier is that I think once we get to your level and my level, we realize that manifestation is not about manifestations. It's
right.
about manifesting. And
Yes.
like I say in my videos, we can explain our ontology and how we think the universe works, but you can't really know. There's no
Right.
way to actually prove it.
I
But
agree.
I think the question about these techniques is, do they work? Do they actually get me to get up and actually pursue what I need to pursue?
It's a
I think at the
lifestyle.
end of the day,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
key.
Yes. It's a
Exactly.
lifestyle. It's not like I just
Exactly.
manifest the car and that's it. Like, in my opinion, you're shifting or whatever, you're quote unquote manifesting 24/7. It doesn't stop. If you think about physics, we're always in a current state of like oscillation, flickering in and out. We're always taking
Exactly.
action, whether you think so or not. Any action, even in the mind action, is action. So, it's all language, it's all semantics, and it's just understanding that it's a lifestyle, and the techniques point you back to what I believe is just a confident knowing that you can achieve these things just by like it depends on how you like to talk about it, like collapsing
Exactly.
that reality into existence for yourself, or whatever you manifest it, whatever you shift into it, whatever
And the
language.
biggest thing is you realize you don't need it.
Right.
It's
It's
like I talk
there.
about in my channel, there could be a guy walking down the street. He could be a homeless person or a billionaire. And in San Francisco, you really can't tell the difference between homeless people and billionaires by the way they dress.
Right.
So it's all really in the mindset.
Right. And it is because I always thought that there was something crazy going on in the universe and just everything around us, from a very young age, but I was
Oh
not
yes.
into these principles like The Secret and all this way before, where I was thinking that I was like consciously really creating these things in such a way where I do now. And I was doing that before, like when you were talking about, I wasn't complete, and I'm not trying to be rude when I say it, when I'm like, what
Oh
Neville
sure.
did was not that impressive to me. Because even when I wasn't into these concepts, all I would need to do is think, oh, I want to go to party in Miami. And then I was in Miami, and it would happen all the time. If I wanted to go, I would go to Dow. I've been to Texas multiple times. If I ever wanted
Oh
to go to
sure.
Europe, I've been to Europe multiple times, and it would all be paid. I never had to pay for anything. I never had to pay for hotels, food, plane tickets. It would all be paid. All I would pay, my drinks were always paid, and my alcoholic beverages were paid for, like everything. So so when people are like, he manifested a trip to Barbados, I'm like, what? I manifested a trip to Bermuda. Okay.
There you go.
Like what?
You do this stuff intuitively because of the
Yes.
experiences that you've had.
Yes, yes,
Exactly.
exactly. And then like once I realized that people were selling this stuff, I was like, holy crap, like this is insane. I've been doing this stuff my whole life. And I kind of knew it in the background too. Even, and I hate to say this with sometimes with people, because it's not that you're trying to control or manipulate people, because the SP community is very popular
Oh
to
yeah.
sell these concepts to. And I see that. And that's something that I personally could never drive myself to do. But the SP thing is something that actually came to me like so easily and frequently, or however you want to say it. But I never felt like comfortable doing all of these like long videos on how to get your SP, because that's like a self-concept thing to me, because I was
Exactly.
always able to get whoever I wanted technically, and I never, and like it's just like all about who you think you are and what you think you can achieve, and that's what the symbol show you, if you will. And I was doing that years before I saw any of these concepts, and I would think in my head like, oh, like there's something weird here. Like sometimes I feel like, am I a witch? Because you just because of the things
Exactly.
that you have in your head, you know what I mean? And it's not that I was trying to be, but it's just these thoughts that because you don't kind of understand what you're doing, and it's not that it's mind control, but it can push, it can go back to those like catchphrasey, everybody's you pushed out, that kind of thing, you know?
Just
But
like we were saying, that we're seeing 0.0001%. So it's just basically enabling your brain to see things that are there, but you're not seeing,
the brain's a
perhaps.
filter,
Exactly.
absolutely.
The
And like
brain's a
I'm
filter.
coming, you'll see I have a video right now that I'm in the middle of
Hmm.
editing. It's all about how I took because I listen to that's another thing. Like I don't know if half of the I know that you do, and I know you're deeply read, and you can tell when certain folks are, but it's these people are taking these concepts and I don't know if they deeply think about them or ponder them. Like for example, I listened to a video the other day and it had 5 physics equations in it. And then I listened to another video with just a bunch of stuff about like David Hoffman and all his ideas. And I just really combine them together. And I'm having a video about it, but also too from the
Wow.
perspective where it's the brain's a filter and you can run the maths down to see the layers of reality through the dimensions where that's how we're filtering through this geometric process. And it's also Michael Levin. I love him. He's another one.
Oh, yes.
Michael Levin has
Hmm.
fantastic work where he's uncovering these things that it's not woo anymore. It's more tangible day by day when they're
Oh,
running
yes.
these experiments that what
Hmm.
we're talking about isn't, it's considered, pseudoscience. Like that Professor Dave, have you ever seen him like roast
Dave Hoffman,
people?
right?
No, no,
Oh,
it's Professor Dave. I said Dave Hoffman, but I
oh,
was thinking of somebody
sorry,
different.
he's a skeptic, correct? The Professor
Yes,
Day. Yes,
yes,
right. Now it's
yes,
mainstream,
yes.
basically, and to a certain extent, Joe Dispenza explains a lot of the stuff scientifically. But I
He
think
does
now it's
too.
just exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's more mainstream physicists are now seeing this. I see articles all the time.
Yes, like because and they're not being able to explain these things because how
Exactly.
else do you do? And most people out here in the real world, just like they say, I don't know if you've been hearing this, but a lot of people are trying to confirm and say it's 100% truth. There's aliens, and if you don't
Oh,
believe it,
yes.
it's just because you're trying to like deny it, if you will, or
I
stick
saw
your
your
foot in the
video,
sand.
by the way. You talked about that. And I
Oh,
actually, it's something I was hoping to get into if you'd be comfortable sharing.
oh yeah.
I'm not sure if you, because in the video about the gurus, I heard you in passing say that you took some kind of tablet when you were a teenager.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would you care sharing about what happened and what the details of that were and what you saw?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about
Hmm.
that freely. Now I feel comfortable talking about it. Before when I was
Oh, wow.
younger, I felt like scared because it was taboo to talk about them, but then I
Oh,
heard
sure.
other people on the internet talking about it and I was like, "You know
Now
what?
it's mainstream.
Yeah, I was
That's
like,
the
I
thing
could talk
with it.
about this now. There's like other people
Mhm.
speaking on this. Like, this is not that
Sure.
big of a deal. But basically, when I was younger, I was out with friends, and these gentlemen and these other kids gave me a hit of, a tab of, I don't even know if I want to say it. I don't want to get us
Sure.
blocked or anything like
Oh
that.
no.
But, of that stuff that makes you hallucinate. And
Hmm.
I was so young. I was 14 at the time, and I had no idea what was going to happen. And they just gave it to me, and I just like a moron took it, not knowing anything about it. Yeah. And I remember just waking up, like it almost felt like I went through like what they describe as like your death because everything went black and it feels like you're dying or something is the best way to describe it. And then I ended up waking up screaming in the middle of the street. And, the kids were freaking out. They're like, shut her up, man. Shut her up. She can't be screaming like that. Because I was like losing it.
Sure.
Because that's how, people have gone into psychosis because of that.
Oh
Um,
yes. They
it's
talk
like
about going on trips and not coming back.
right. And yes. And like how about all that stuff with artichoke, bluebird, MK Ultra?
Oh
Like
yes.
there's a lot of
Yeah, you
crazy
discussed
things.
it too, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
Hmm.
and I think it alters the brain chemistry, like your neurology. Like I think it does alter pathways. And
Oh, certainly.
I saw crazy things that night that I just would never forget. Like I've talked about it in some of my videos, but my couches floated and they vividly
Oh, yes.
floated. It wasn't like a wavy kind of thing. I saw very vivid things. My hand melted down to like the bone to where there was no more hand to where there was like a
Wow.
stub. Yeah, and my mind was blown and I just there was so many I was in the mirror and I could anything that I envisioned in the mirror I would turn into like I turned into like 10 different faces and they were clear as day. It was almost as if it was AI before AI was a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like
For
those
sure.
Snapchat filters, very much
Oh,
so
yeah.
like that.
And there are those that say this is AI, this is augmented reality. I mean, how would
Hmm.
you know? Like, how would you, when I'm dreaming, I don't know it's a dream. And probably when you were in that state, you didn't really consciously know it was an altered state. But how do we know right now is not an altered state?
Right. Yeah. Even in my video, I
Yeah,
say my video, you'll hear it. If you play
sure.
it, you'll hear me
Oh,
saying,
yes.
click off of this video if you don't want to be in an altered state because this
Oh,
video
for
will
sure.
alter your because it's well, the point I'm trying to get across to people too is I personally believe if you don't practice these things, you're not going to see them. So if you really truly hard, like if you don't believe, I think your subconscious or whatever, if it's scared, will keep you away from that experience on
For
purpose
sure.
and you won't see these other things. So it's like you have to practice and make that experience safe for yourself, or you're not going to experience or see these trippy layers of reality. You're not going to see the quote unquote ether or matrix or other strange things that you can experience in this phenomena that we call the sim or universe or world. You're not going to see those other strange things. That's why I'm really into like Terrence McKenna
Oh,
because
sure.
yeah, I love the idea of and it's I would never want to like endorse this, but doing scientific research while you're kind of under that altered state because it's producing like altered results and experiments that you can have
Mhm.
with other modalities of consciousness, if you will.
It just helps you realize. And I don't know, did you ever listen to Krishnamurti?
I've only
Jiddu
listened
Krishna?
very like little here and there. I've heard you talk about him, but I've never
Oh,
gone
yes.
deep into that work. No.
He's very just rational, and it's in he talks about the fact that this is also it's like you said, you're going to see what you're conditioned to see, because like a Buddhist will see Buddha, a Christian will see Jesus, you might see aliens. And I think that it's like reality transurfing talks about, there's just infinite film rolls, and you can basically tap into any one of those film rolls. It's
Right.
just very
Right.
interesting.
Right, 100%.
Mhm.
That's why I kind of believe when you are in the act of like dying or whatever, you're going to go on to your next cycle. And I think you would want to imagine something good, and then that's what you get back reimagined into or something of this nature. Because I really do think imagination has 100% to do with this. It's like imagination, consciousness,
Mhm.
if you will. So I think it's just like an ever evolving process of imagination and consciousness replaying itself out over and over again. And I
Well,
often
you're familiar with quantum immortality, right?
yeah, like the
You were talking
idea
about
that,
Lex
yeah,
Friedman. Yeah.
yeah.
You you can't ex you can't experience your own death, which is
Right.
interesting. And Neville sort of talked about this. He talked about the fact that when you die, it's sort of like you just woke up from a dream, but you're in another dream. It's just like a layer of dreams. When you wake up from a dream, you basically die, right? But you're here in
Yeah.
another
Well, it's so crazy you're saying
aspect.
this. This morning
Hmm.
when I was walking my dog, I was thinking we die every night, really. We're dead. We die
Exactly.
every night. Yeah, like you
Mhm.
experience your death because it's you wake up. Sometimes I'll wake up and some days I'll be groggy and it's almost as if I'm coming back into my consciousness again and I was off somewhere else, if you will, having like this completely other life and I'm still tired from it and I just don't remember it some days. So, and I'm somebody that believes that too, like lucid dreaming. I actually am playing a lot with lucid dreaming recently. I even got a lucid me mask, and I bought
Hmm.
one of those Muse headbands, and
Oh,
I've
yes, I
been
saw that. That's
yeah, yeah, and I've been playing with those, and I've been, testing lucid dreaming, and I've had some really good experiences doing that because I do think this is, again, it's all kind of pointing back to the same thing where it's like a layer dream. It's like a layer of a dream. There's like the sleeping dream and then the waking dream. I don't feel like, while there's physicality to it, I stopped believing in the physicality to it when I understood that if you turned off certain circuitry in your neurology, you don't experience pain. So, like,
exactly.
why would that be? Why could you still function and not be able to? It's because there's like certain wiring going on, and there's that's among many different things that point to it, but that's just one thing that
Mhm.
always blew my mind, where it's like, okay, you could, hypothetically speaking, have somebody that doesn't feel pain the same way somebody else does. So,
For like to get into some really weird stuff, I know you've touched on it. You've heard of this missing 411 and people that are missing in national parks and so on and
oh
other
yeah,
things.
yeah. Oh, please,
Right.
that's terrible. Yes.
It's
Mm-hmm.
terrible, but they
Yeah,
find some of these people who have passed away,
sure.
and there is the date rape drug, which is basically there. I forget what it's called, but it's released in the brain, and there's some kind of switch that can just turn it on your brain, and then you just
Hmm.
automatically feel like in bliss.
Yeah.
And so the question is, can we find out how to do that for ourselves? And then you won't have to fear pain. And then imagine how that just takes the brakes off for you to be able to do anything, to be able
Yeah.
to advance like quantum levels in your life.
I
That's
I
the kind of
think
thing that interests me.
Yeah, I think that that's 100%
Mhm.
possible. You just have to practice it. I think everything out here is, don't get me wrong, do I think people are born with natural abilities and things of this nature? And do I think that when we're children, we see more of the layers and our brain
Oh, sure.
filters a less harder than it would after we've, been ingrained with all these
Mhm.
beliefs? But yeah, I think that that's learned. All you have to do is practice and get into those. Like, for me, it would be creating like weird meditations or doing a lot of breathing exercises, and maybe like testing or actually visualizing yourself in that experience and being able to withstand the pain. Like, I've known people, and it always blows my mind because, listen, I don't claim to be some level to be doing things like this. Do I think a hundred
Oh, sure.
percent
Nor do
they're
I.
achievable? Yeah, I'm not going to say, oh, I'll get in.
Oh,
I know somebody
no.
that has their teeth drilled with nothing, and I'm not willing to do that right
Oh,
now.
yes.
You know what I mean? So, like, I do think that that is achievable because you can go into the meditative state and you can actually block out those receptor communications in your brain or something like this, of this nature, and then not receive the communication of, pain, and be able to withstand these. I think Wim Hof, isn't that how he does it too?
You read my mind.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
about to ask about that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Wim Hof is one of them, right?
Right.
And it's
So,
incredible. I've done that. I regularly do that method in cold showers, and it's just, you can go from feeling in the depths of depression to being in bliss in just a
yeah.
few minutes. It's a
Yeah.
physiological thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's also too, I like binaural beats. That helps
Oh,
me
yes.
into those type of states where I feel euphoric and very, it's like taking things without taking things. You know what I mean? Like what you're
Exactly.
talking about, and blocking out those feelings. The binaural beat, that's why I love also ASMR in my channel.
Oh,
There's
yes.
something about certain rhythmic clicking that I'm like, was that, is that why we were aliens or something? Is that why I like the clicking noises or something? Like, there's something with that that sets like the brain off, and it sets. Again, are we all in resonance? I think so. Are we entangled? Do we have a resonance that we're vibrating to? Probably some sort of universal thing, and when you tap into it, you get that very euphoric sensation. I can get that very often during meditation myself personally. Or like you said, cold hot therapy. I like that. I like hot therapy more than I like the cold therapy, but um yeah, there's so many different things I think with practice you can achieve. It's just focusing on that, and then, because technically the way I think is, every instance or experience exists. So it's just you tuning into that and then being able to just maintain that frequency, that frequency, if you will. That's how they call it in the community. So
Have you looked into anything by David Icke?
it's
You know who this
so
is?
it's so crazy that
It
you
is.
were asking me
Oh,
about that because I was just watching somebody talk. Oh my gosh, I have my YouTube open. I literally just watched this guy he runs a simulation. Well, I guess you could say he talks a lot about I can't remember his name, but I literally just watched a episode on him saying, I've watched David Icke for 20 years. So isn't that interesting that
oh,
you just
sure.
asked me about
Yeah, of
that?
course, this
So
we're
that's how that
resonance, but
works. Yeah. But
he talks about a lot of the Gnostic understandings where what do you think about like the dark side of this? Like, are there demonic forces, or is it just something that we impose upon ourselves, create for ourselves? Like you talked a lot about aliens. Many people say that because there's a great negative emotion associated with their presence, that this could be what the Gnostics and others describe as demonic energies, and that they don't exist on their in themselves, but they feed off our energy. What have you had any experience with that, or do you know anything about that? It's what
I
David Icke talks about.
Yeah, I don't know specifically that part of what he talks about. I know from what I heard the gentleman speaking about that he can touch on subjects that sound kind of close to things that might sound similar to the ways that I think, but overall I think the dark or demonic side, I've made videos about this too where
Oh, sure.
it's a component of yourself, I believe, like a dark shadow component of yourself that you're experiencing, if you will. And it's all, again, because of the fact that we're all folded back to one, you're just observing what would be, in my mind, a pattern of consciousness that needed to express itself, but doesn't mean that it's necessarily true and, a lived experience for everybody else. No, it doesn't need to be. And I mean, aliens too. The thing with aliens for me is I don't, are aliens us in the future? Did at some point we learn how to uh, solve the time problem and be able to break time space or something and travel back into the future? Because there's other people, or just I don't know, the fact that maybe there is no real time space and it's just like we're labeling it time space, but it's just other beings or us from future states, what would be called future states, but would be other realities or whatever coming in or dimensions, if you will.
All
And they're,
stacked on top of each other, as they
yeah,
say.
and it's like they're
Yes.
coming in to observe us from different realities or different time space. I don't know what it would be, but it always seems like every single time we set off huge A bombs and things of this nature, there's like tons of alien sightings, and
Oh, yes.
is it because they don't want us to destroy ourselves? And I know that there's the stories like the Anunnaki, that we have resources here, that could be like a prison planet type of thing, to what you were speaking about earlier. Like, are we feeding some sort of energy to some sort of being based upon like our emotional state? I've heard people say things of this nature too, but because of my personal beliefs, it would be maybe yes in your reality and that's what you're experiencing, but that doesn't mean that it's the case for everybody else's reality. And due to the fact that we can and we do have the capabilities that we do, cannot shift into that reality and or experience that specific thing that somebody might be, you know what I mean?
Yes, presume we all in our own realities. But just like the final discussion here, is I know we're running short on time. How do we apply all this to trading stocks, Chrissy? I see you're a day trader,
Oh
and you
my
said,
gosh, I'm a day trader. I'm
and how's
trying.
that going?
I am, see, that's where I think that for me, the authenticity, when I think something, like when I hear the manifestation coaches, like, don't get me wrong, is it badass that you were able to compile 700,000 people and have, 700,000 people in your community pay six. Yeah, that's pretty cool that you convince that
Oh
many
yeah.
people, but just by talking about concepts that have been spoken about for the last 2,000 years. So
Yes.
I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool. It's fine. I would love to do that too. It's like no tea, no shade, but like, have you done anything else? Is there anything else under your belt? And that's where I was saying for years and years, I've climbed the corporate ladder. I've done the real estate things, and now I'm attempting to do the day trading thing using these concepts to prove that it's not like I'm out here just trying to create something on YouTube specifically only to show people like I'm 20 years old and I'm doing all these manifestation videos to create money for myself. Like that's not the storyline here. And the day trading thing it's slow going, but it's going. I'm paper trading now, and the other day I made some trades that if I would have made real trades, I would have made like 7K in a day. So
Oh
like
yeah.
and I was trading things from an intuitive perspective where everybody right now is, and you talk about it too, like you're in the pharmaceutical industry. A lot of people are talking about weight loss. A lot of people are
Oh
doing
yes.
these different
Wegovy and all
drugs.
that.
Yes.
Mhm.
And like per people that I personally know. So then I started thinking, like, let me get into these different companies. Let me investigate who's doing what. So then I started looking at their stocks. And then, I do it on
Oh
Thinkorswim.
yes.
I paper trade. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I started paper trading, and I earned a bunch of money within like, an overnight stint.
Oh
Within
yes.
one open to the next, I was up like 7,000. I checked out,
Wow. You
yeah,
trade some options or just the stocks?
just the stocks.
Oh
So,
wow. That's
yeah, and
awesome.
it
Yeah.
was because they went up, and it was just because I think people are buying certain things now due to certain products that are coming out, and it's
They
like
always
observing
are.
that. Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. There's always something there.
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
it's just seeing that. And like I'm saying, I want this to uh do better, bigger things for me. And I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep paper trading. I'll start real trading soon. Just because
Mhm.
it's like it's getting, and I know what I'm doing. I'm getting my subconscious comfortable with starting to risk those amounts of money in my own hands because I'm used to taking my money and giving it to somebody else. Like, for example, I've invested for years and years and years in 401ks, and more recently, like, because again, you're training your subconscious. When you start thinking about money, you start focusing on it, and you start focusing on training your reticular activating system to see all of these different things that would make good trades for you, that would get the amount of money that you're trying to get within each, area. And it's getting closer and closer to that day by day, and realizing that, and like I'm opening more bank accounts. I'm seeing where my money isn't making money. Like you know what I mean? Observing all of these different things. But now I'm actually getting my hands dirty in making actual trades. Where before, again, I was giving all my money. I would say like, Charles Schwab, here's, 10 grand, take it and put it in to the S&P, and you pick all your stocks, like their investors or whatever, pick all the stocks that are the most,
Mhm.
you take a
Exactly.
high, medium, or low risk. I usually take like a
Oh yes.
medium risk, and I just let them pick it all. But now it's me
You
going,
want to do it.
yeah, and I've been picking stocks and
Mhm.
stuff for years, but not, and I've been investing in them. Like I have some cryptos. Like I have some Bitcoin, but not like a ton. I have
Mhm.
some Ethereum, but not a ton. I have just some small things, and I have some other stocks that I purchased, like for example, Apple. Just like dumb stocks like this, and
Oh yeah. Well,
companies
it's
that
been
I
a good.
like. Well, no,
Hmm.
I mean they're good. I don't mean dumb like that. I mean like just
But you're
like
talking about buy and hold.
yes.
Now you want to be more active
Yes,
in
like
terms.
I want
Exactly.
to, and for me, it was the scary part for me at first was trying to pick all the stocks that you would trade for that day
Hmm.
because there's hundreds of stocks that you can pick from.
Oh yes.
So. It was
You got to
figuring
narrow
out
it
all
down.
the numbers because even in the I trade on the desktop, and there's all these parameters. There's like 20 parameters that you can pick to be able to filter again, just like your stinking brain, filter out all the
Exactly.
stocks. And it's like getting that down, getting the numbers right, getting the percentages, getting the money amounts and the movement and knowing when to get in and get out and understanding the candlesticks and it's day by day. And what I believe
Exactly.
is something that would be um it compounds. And this is why I think it's if manifestation quote unquote was so easy, why could and I truly believe in myself for all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I've made video jokes and videos before. I've I've hit the lotto $50 million and I believe all this stuff. Then if I believe it, then
Mhm.
why can't I just log in and put, a certain amount of money and immediately know what to do? That's not how it works. Somebody would attempt to even log into that screen and their mind would be blown. They won't even know
For
what to do.
sure.
Do you know what I
You got
mean?
to know how to, of course, you got to know how to filter it.
But there's
And
no
you,
work. But you see what I'm saying? But if you
exactly.
listen to a manifestation coach, they'll say trading's easy. Just it's so easy.
Sure.
But
What
okay,
you,
it
mhm.
is maybe to you, but at first, like for me, that didn't feel easy, and
There's a
that's like
learning
the
curve.
dirty, yeah. There's a learning curve, and that's the dirty
Hmm.
little truth that a lot of people don't like to talk about. They don't want to talk about the Charles Schwab Thinkorswim opening tab and looking through all the hundred. You know what I mean? We don't want to talk about that. We
Right.
want to say just think in the end of your trades and they'll all come. Well, I if it were that easy, all my trades would be executed. I wouldn't have to be in Thinkorswim or nothing. So,
Well, sure. It's very dynamic. So one final thing, and you
yeah.
have a great YouTube channel, and I know you've got some like thousands of subscribers. I have a YouTube channel. What do you think about the algorithm? Because especially watching your videos, I see people with videos that are a lot less well done than yours, a lot less succinct than yours. They're getting tons of views. What do you think? What's going on with the YouTube algorithm? Sometimes my videos that some people tell me are great, they don't get a lot of views. I've seen some of your videos, they're not getting as many views as I think they should get. What are we missing about the YouTube algorithm, in your opinion,
Yeah,
if anything?
Yeah, no, and I've made a video about this too. I back in the day, I think I might have put it in my like hidden, but I think I
Oh.
said something like, "Oh, I'm a master manifester, but my YouTube channel only has like a few thousand. Like I don't have
Oh.
100K." Like I'll address the elephant in the room because if
Hmm.
it's like you're so great at manifesting, I don't. The thing is what we don't see a lot of behind the scenes of what people are doing. And when you start to dig into people's success, there's usually a pattern, and I do see the pattern. And the pattern usually is I see that they're doing a lot of daily uploads. They usually have a ton of videos. They might go live a whole lot.
Hmm.
They might have multiple platforms that they're streaming off of, where they're streaming off of TikTok, Instagram. So they're funneling a lot of, like, so for example, a lot of the newer YouTubers seem to have hit a lot of luck in that TikTok rush, where they gained hundreds and thousands of subscribers on TikTok
Hmm.
and moved those audiences over to YouTube. So I think
Sure.
like a lot of that has ended up, and then I think there is to the part where people do buy subscribers and they do buy views, and I think that can, especially if YouTube doesn't understand what's happening, if they can't identify that it's real or not, that helps them out and pushes the algorithm and makes it seem like they're more prolific potentially than they really are. But I
Hmm.
do think there is. I was thinking it's so funny you're asking this again. No, it's not, I guess, but it's. I
We're
was thinking
tapping
it.
into the field here.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
I was thinking. On my dog again walk today. Just what it is about the algorithm that pumps out these videos, like you were saying, that they get all of these views or these um these specific coaches or just material that is very regurgitated and feels even there was one that I was thinking about. They're actually doing you have to see the pattern and get into the pattern. I think maybe the things that we're talking about are not hitting the same way, or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. Like when you open your video, you're not saying the right thing or something like this. But
Exactly. You got to structure it
yeah,
a
you have to
certain way.
structure it to
Hmm.
feed the algorithm. But what I was going to say before I got distracted was there's AI. You're going to see it. There's AI. Picture me, like a person like me, doing manifestation content, but they're completely AI and you don't know
Oh,
it.
yes. Well, I've
Like,
seen a lot of them.
I'm like, what?
Oh,
There's a
yes. They're
channel that
avatars and so on.
but now they're doing long form. Like long form
Oh, yeah.
where it's an actual person. Like a 25 it could be like a 20-minute video and this AI girl is
Oh, yeah.
talking about quantum theory and she's not and it's like she's not real. She's just like you can tell like
I
if
can
you
tell immediately.
oh can you it takes me a minute sometimes.
Oh, yeah. So, because I know there's like this rabbi on YouTube, and but he's AI, and you can tell. We can still tell.
Well, the girl,
Oh,
it
yeah.
took me a minute. The girl is so
Wow.
good. She looks
Hmm.
so good. There's people, and I'm shook because I'll go in the comments. I'm like, yo, AI is getting more views and subscribers
Oh, yeah, they are.
because they've
But
hacked the algorithm, I think, really.
for
I
sure.
think for me, remember I told you I messed my channel up, I think personally, by mixing a lot of genres. I had a lot
Oh,
of
yes.
beauty
Me too.
content. Yeah.
Me,
And you
yeah.
can't do that. Um,
Hmm.
and I think even to this day, if I try to get YouTube to give me specific analytics about who's viewing my videos, it doesn't want to give me it doesn't want to give me clean analytics. It keeps telling me that it's too like scattered or something, but it's strange to me because I actually, if you go through my YouTube, I went and hid all of my previous videos that are associated to like beauty, and I would review supplements, I would do
Uh-huh.
clothing hauls. I hid
Hmm.
all of that stuff. And even with the hiding of that and just trying to focus, like even me, I focused on like just the simulation frequency, like trying to hone in on a niche. It's still hard, but I do believe it would take one video to where if you did hit the algorithm, you would be able to get like a ton of subscribers or views, but it's hitting that algorithm and just giving YouTube what it really likes because otherwise, and I don't know, do I think some of the content gets banned? Yeah, that's why I said to you earlier, maybe I shouldn't say certain things because I
Or
would hate
shadow band,
or
maybe.
shadow banned or like yeah they
Exactly.
hear certain content that you're discussing and they just don't want it shared, they don't want people
Exactly.
discussing these concepts at large, so
Oh,
I
yes.
do think it might fall upon less eyeballs that way. It's not pushed out to the algorithm as opposed to things like overconsumption. Like I think the algorithm favors stuff like that where people are in your face selling you things, just things that are very clickable. That's what the
Oh, yeah.
algorithm wants to feed you. And these type of videos where we're talking about deeper concepts at large, I don't even, even like some of the learning videos, you would think that they would have a
Most
ton
people aren't
more
going to
views.
watch it
Yeah, right,
all the way through, unfortunately.
right.
But we enjoy it. At the end of the day, it's probably just like Gary V, right? Just keep going, go on multiple platforms, and eventually, by law of
Guilty.
probability, you're
Yeah.
going to hit something. And of course, to be in the end, because that's the only thing. As long as you're in it, doesn't matter what's happening on the outer.
Right. It's your yeah, you got to
Exactly.
keep your inner delusionality, what I like to call your inner
Exactly.
hallucination of your outer. So,
You
yeah.
got to. Well,
Yeah.
Chrissy, hey, thanks so much. I know it's been over an hour, and we're both very
Yeah.
busy. You're very busy, but hey, it was great talking to you, and hope we can make another video.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much,
Mm,
Javier. I'm definitely going to put this on my channel. I really appreciate
for sure.
you taking the time to also, have all these wonderful questions and create the content. And yeah, I would love to do it again in the future, even if you would want to go live or something or whatever. But
That would
this
be
was
like have
awesome.
like a podcast.
Yeah, like
That
something
would
like
be cool.
that.
And just
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
talk about just random stuff. That would be interesting.
Right. And people in the comments love to shoot like different things in there with different topics, and they end up
Exactly.
like, branching out into all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's fun. So, all
It's
right,
been
Javier,
fun.
it was really fun. I
All
had a
right.
great time. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great
Have
rest
a
of your
great
weekend.
night.
All right, you
And
too.
we'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. Stop.